at noon.
The worst thing that's happened in the 20th century is computers. You agree? Do you know who can get into access to computer to find out how much is in your checking account? How many times you've been divorced? Whether or not you watch dirty movies? Telling you.
Not true. Not true.
Whether you're bankrupt?
Yes. I am bankrupt, and they can know it.
Whether who you owe money to?
Yes.
You know what else they can do? They can get your credit card, and guess what?
Yes. But if you're careful, no.
What do you mean if you're careful?
I guess again.
I don't know if it matters about being careful. Richard Louv?
Well, if they steal my credit card, they can use
What
it.
they do, though. They access to...
Pay cash.
Well, you can't function with cash anymore. You can't rent a car with
Can't
cash.
function without a computer either.
Richard Louv, what? You can't? He's written a book titled America 2, in which this whole Orwellian thing is not funny. It's already, you know, people are falling in love with computers? I mean with each other. There's X-rated computers. I'm telling you. You're laughing.
Anything X-rated to me. He's never written anything X-rated.
Is all this, this is so, is it, Mr. Louv?
Yeah, I got interested in this by plugging my computer via a modem. That's the little gadget that allows it to connect to the phone. And one of the things that I saw right away was that there are bulletin boards out there that you can... I mean, it's a good thing my computer had a fan on it. I was up late one night, and this X-rated stuff starts coming up on my screen. I mean, really hardcore. And
when you say, you're talking about language and dirty, not pictures.
No, but it's a form of mating. There's a lot of computer sex out there. People
you know what they do? They have hot tub parties. Am I kidding?
No.
They have hot tub parties, and you're involved with a lot of people out there who are communicating with you. You're in the hot tub, and you're talking to everybody's got a name, a nickname. And then if you connect with somebody during this party that you're a part of, you and that other person can decide to go off by yourselves on another private channel. Have a little more X-rated conversation, and then if you want, you go back to the hot tub. I'm telling you, this is what's happening.
And there are hundreds of these computer bulletin boards that are sexually oriented.
Did you ever think?
I said that's all right.
It is? Who's hurt?
Right? Nobody.
Yeah, here's the problem, though. 14-year-olds are into it.
You want a remark from me? 14-year-olds are almost adults.
That's the truth. That's how she feels. Let me tell you what happened to a Newsweek reporter. This is a real live computer victim here. Richard Sansa was doing a piece, were you, for the magazine?
Yes, I did a piece talking about these bulletin boards that Richard's talking about. And I wrote this article and said, here's what's going on. There are computer bulletin boards where kids are using them to exchange illegal information, how to get your credit card. The woman in the back, they can get your credit card even if you have it in your wallet. And they came after me because they felt I'd broken some sort of pledge and disclosed too much about their underground.
And you had a teletrial, did you?
Yes, I was put on teletrial, which is somewhat like the hot tub, only I think I was going to be boiled in oil in this one.
A jury and a testimony and...
Yes, there was, they set up a bulletin board and people would dial in and place charges against me and say why I should be punished. And I was allowed to defend myself.
You were also getting hostile phone calls. They got your phone number?
Yes, they got my telephone number and they began calling me at home at all hours of the day and night. But the worst thing they did was they dialed into the credit bureau computer and got the whole list of my credit accounts. And then they passed the credit card numbers around the country and then started using the credit cards.
And your wife, you both had to be very, very frightened by this.
Well, this started the day my wife went into labor with our first child. And I called the phone company from the maternity ward asking them to do something to make sure my telephone wouldn't be disconnected as had been threatened. They threatened to blow up my house, and I didn't know whether to take this seriously, but I'd seen messages giving the details on how to make letter bombs, nitroglycerin, pick locks, and other things, all the things you'd need to blow up my house in San Francisco.
Neo-Nazis have a computer now?
Yes, they keep track of their hit list and pass around information so that they can track down their enemies.
That's a national network. Any one of you can call into the neo-Nazis bulletin board if you have a computer.
Yeah, if you want some hate mail, just dial in.
So the KKK's now talking to each other with computers? Nazis? A 14-year-old boy, apparently on the bulletin board, was able to transmit how to make nitroglycerin.
Well, how do you protect yourself from this?
I'm not sure you can protect yourself from this. The credit bureau computers are kept so that all of us can have credit cards, and they have information on just about every adult in the United States. And the security's not good enough to keep these kids out.
I talked to one guy who gets into these, and he says that the TRW's credit system, computer system, is incredibly user-friendly. It's very easy to use. I asked TRW about this. How do you get these numbers? TRW has 30,000 customers, banks, savings loans, that call in every day and ask for credit. They print this stuff out. These numbers are available. That's 30,000 leak points for your credit numbers.
The kid who got my credit card number, they found the passwords and the information to get this stuff out of a garbage can behind a bank in Massachusetts.
Don't they change codes?
I think what you have to consider is that we're blaming the computer in this, and it's not the computer, it's the people using it.
You're absolutely right.
Let me give you a little demo here. Can we lower these house lights just a little bit? My understanding is that you in the studio audience, you'll be able to see pretty well on our monitor how this thing works. Billy Steinberg is our computer user here. What? I have to move. I'm sorry. I'll tell you, I'm not on TV enough. I got to get in front of the camera here. Okay, what's going on here, Billy?
Right now, we're logged on to a timeshare network called The Source, and we're in the middle of a discussion that people have had about sex. This particular section is about sex gadgets.
Sex Gadgets Conference 84, about high-tech vibrators. What? Gadgetry can lead to truly astonishing sensations. One simple example. Can we get this on the air? Is there anything? It's on the air, huh? Okay. Now, okay, but what's the point here? So, this woman in our audience makes the point that if two people get a little warm doing this, what do we care?
Oh, we don't. I think the computer sex is fine. One of the bulletin boards that I looked at, right in the middle of all this X-rated electronic sex, was a little message from a 13-year-old boy who said, "I'm not interested in sex. I'd like to find somebody to talk to." Does anybody out there know a 13-year-old girl that would like to talk?
Uh-huh.
She's kinky,
okay,
right?
All right. Now tell me about, can you call up a bulletin board?
We are called up and logged on to a bulletin board.
Well, but
right
I mean,
now.
okay. Is there a non-sex bulletin board? Well,
sure.
Are you able to access this and talk to these people?
Well, they aren't on right now. So these people have left the messages. I could leave.
They work at night. I understand. Yeah. All right. Don't miss his point. You leave a message, and then when the hacker or whoever it might be comes home,
Everyone has access to read all of the messages and can reply to the messages.
Now, while you're watching this, let's just consider some of the legal questions here. Can I insult your mother on this thing? And if I do, can you sue me? And how do you find me? And who's responsible for that libel? Is it the computer agency? Is it the bulletin board itself? And who's responsible for the bulletin board? And does the law oblige those who are responsible for the bulletin board to take responsibility for everything that goes on the bulletin board? You cannot send hate neo-Nazi, for example, mail to Canada. It's illegal. You can't send racist material. But you can transmit.
Well, that's why they set up that bulletin board. One of them is in northern Idaho, and it was expressly set up so that their customers, the people who are interested in this stuff in Canada, could dial in and get this information. And it's been very effective, from what I understand.
What do you got here now? Well, this is still a sex thing. Well, we better get up. This is... Yeah.
This may be the only
Phone
safe
book?
form of sex left.
Yeah, these are different lists.
That's right. No disease. Got a two-way conversation.
I'll see if anyone's there.
All right. We're going to, I'll get to you in just a second. We're going to see if we can find if anybody's out there. Hello?
That's the modem.
That's just a beep, huh? We're not going
Right
to have...
now I'm identifying on to the system, telling it who I am, and it's going to let me in a minute. We'll see if we can find anybody who's on right now.
What is that? CompuServe Information Services?
Mm-hmm.
Can we get, you know what would be fun? Let's get the checking account of somebody in the audience. I'll bet you we could. Use mine. He said, let's use mine. I don't want you doing that.
It's not up to you.
That's right. It is. That's the point. That's the point. If, what are you doing?
Seeing if anyone now that we can talk to in real time. Well,
In other words, someone who's actually out there right now.
right, just as I'm typing now, they would be somewhere else in the country, and doesn't look like anyone's on. Most of these people are night people.
Yes. All
As
right.
you said.
Request. Can you just say demo for the Donahue Show? Looking for. I'll be real hurt if nobody answered.
Well, let's see if I can find someone on.
One moment, please. It says. Now.
I'm on my way.
What does CB mean? You mean as in Citizens Band Radio?
Yeah, there is a Citizens Band simulator on this board. It's just like you're talking on a microphone, except you're typing on the keyboard. I can type something in. Someone else is watching the screen the same as you are. They can respond back to me. We have 2 people. There are 4 people on. Let's see if we can say hello.
Now, if they say Donahue who, I'm going to really be hurt. Hello, mostly for friends on the Donahue Show.
Well, while I was typing in the letter to them, they were speaking to each other, so it came through, and there's hello, Bill.
Okay, and that's you. All right. You've already identified yourself, obviously, to them.
Well, as you can see from the beginning of the line, there, the name of the person typing
Okay,
comes
could you
out.
ask him where he is, or her, whoever it is? From what location is this person? Derek, where are you located? Okay. The Donahue Show. Now, wait a minute. Derek's going to... wouldn't it be funny if he's, you know, across the street, or...
He's in Montreal.
He's in Montreal. All right. Now, here's an international communication. Now, one of the things that obviously ought to concern us is that this appears to get around laws which govern international transportation of information that might hurt somebody, racist information that might place somebody at risk. Remember the CB craze? Wherever there are people communicating, there is going to be conflict. It's another flag. It's another opportunity.
But it's also another opportunity for social activism. Greenpeace now has its own computer bulletin board network. So does the anti-nuclear movement. And I think we're entering into a period out of what I've called America II into an America III of strange forms of social activism. And this is going to be one of those forms.
It replaces the telephone in a lot of cases, such as this. The difference here is you're completely anonymous. You don't need somebody's telephone number. You can just talk back and forth on these computers, and maybe there shouldn't be any laws that govern what you can say back and forth. There certainly aren't on the telephone. The difference here is that you could keep an actual record of this on paper, and then you could rebroadcast that somewhere else.
In a sense, this is kind of a return to Tom Paine, who printed off cheap pamphlets and handed them out in Boston. These groups, these political groups, had instant access to information, for instance, how to set up a protest against an anti-nuke plant in an anti-nuke demonstration. They can find out in San Francisco immediately how it was done on the East Coast. That has enormous power for the future, and I'm not sure that many of us have yet really fully realized the power that that's going to bring.
Oh, he says, oh, well, sorry, I'm only into regression and factor analysis. See, I'd be happy to explain that to you, but we don't have time. Yeah, sir. Are you Are you Chris? You're Chris. Meet Chris and Pamela Dunn here in our front row. They look happy, don't they? Well, they are. They're very happy. You're married. They met via computer terminals. True? How did this happen? And were you were you alone, or were you at work, or how?
Okay, no, I was alone at home, and I was using a terminal to access CompuServe and utilizing the CB network. This is going back a few years now when it was young and not that many people around. And Chris and I started talking to each other. At first, I didn't even know he was male because we were both using handles to have that anonymity. Zebra 3.
And I was Christos, which is a computer term.
And we got to talk to each other quite frequently, and finally started having parties. That became the big thing in CB to do, was to have actual parties so people could meet each other. And he came to Chicago from New York, and we met and made history.
What's a party like?
Well, they started out as just being local get-togethers. I mean, you go over, you have your potato chips. And
Oh, you mean physically through the terminal, a date and a place was arranged?
Yeah, well, you found that you were talking to 3 people, they lived next door, around the block.
I get it.
Then they began to become national parties. I flew to San Francisco to meet some people, just to have a nice time. Didn't have anything to do with sex or any of this other stuff.
Right.
We were just enjoying each other's company and talking to each other. The thing about the computers is that it's just a tool. People are doing the same thing with that they've done for ages.
Yes, they have.
Letter writing, printing pamphlets or whatever. It's not the computer, it's the people running them.
Pamela, you did say that you were honest to tell our producer that you're a shy person. You probably aren't the kind who was likely to be found in a singles bar.
Oh, absolutely not. And I've found that this is an incredible way to meet not just, a potential spouse, but friends, people you have things in common with, people that you don't have things in common with, but ways to broaden your horizon through encountering
You
these
don't have
people.
to be a techie type. She's a zookeeper. It's just that she had access to a computer terminal.
You work for a zoo?
Yeah, Lincoln Park, Chicago.
And I assume you can tell a jerk on the screen, maybe even easier than you would be able to. Huh?
It takes practice. You get suckered in a few times. Oh yeah. And I mean, sometimes the people you're talking.
That's normal.
Sure, there's no guarantees when you meet them.
No.
Yeah.
You can be talking to a 12-year-old and not know it, but eventually you do figure it out. There's pretty slick 12-year-olds around.
Yeah. In fact, many of the. Yes, ma'am. You had a question. Yeah.
Well, maybe I've been lucky, but the people I've met on the bulletin boards have been great.
Oh, you are a, what would you call yourself?
A user.
A user.
That's all. I
Terminology? No, go ahead.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it just means I use it. I'm not a programmer, even though I know some programming. But I had a problem, for example, a few days ago with how to use one of my word processing programs, and I put it onto 3 boards. And I'm sure I'll have tons of answers when I get home.
Now, am I to understand that all of you in this area are users? User has become a bad word in our culture, but we won't suggest that you're doing anything wrong. Is this a nightly hobby for you?
Well, when I started using it, it was very interesting. It was a lot of fun to call Chicago, Florida, Canada, Washington, Hawaii. Then when I got my first phone bill, I came down to reality. And now I limit myself to New York City.
Yeah, but there are people who can use this equipment without paying the phone company.
Sure. That's one of the things that they exchange on these illegal bulletin boards. Most of these people probably haven't been on illegal bulletin boards and aren't interested in doing that. But they'll spread around information about how to beat the phone company, how to beat Sprint, how to beat MCI, so you don't have to worry about those big phone bills. Use somebody else's codes. What's the number? She wants to know.
I was going to ask a question about those people down there. How do you know? I could call right on this thing that I'm 5'7", blonde and blue-eyed, and no one would ever know.
Well, that's true. That gets to my question: is how deceptive can you be on this thing? I suppose, like everything else, you get to.
I have known of people that have perpetrated some fairly strange things.
Yeah.
But you can do that over a simple telephone call. It doesn't have to be the computer network.
You have a lot of men pretending they're women on this, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, and a lot of elderly ladies pretending they're young or vice versa.
What do we got here? Well, what's all this going on here?
Well, let's see. We have 6 or 7 people talking to each other now.
Uh-huh. So, I got Juan's message mixed up with you. This guy's in Austin, Texas?
His
Austin
name
Bob
is
is
Austin
handled.
Bob.
I see. And, oh, Silver Surfer's on. Oh, I'm glad. We've been waiting for him. I just sorted through 200 messages on the family computing. Is Lulu... Guys, how about telling Phil Donahue... What? Interesting stuff. No, guys, how... Oh, you're asking them. Oh, I'm reading it and he's typing it. I thought it was... I thought it was coming from the moon. What are you asking them now?
I asked them to tell you where they're all from so we could see where around the country all these people are talking to each other. So far, they seem to be ignoring me.
The software... Hi, Phil. Silver Surfer says hi, Phil, grin. And waving. You know what they do, too? They send out, here's a big hug, and hug is in brackets. It's kind of warm and personal. And you actually feel like you're being hugged. What's the matter? Is this going to change the way we meet each other? And you're not so sure about this, huh? What's the matter? Never, you say. You'll stand, please? You'll stand? What?
How many of these people really that meet through the computer actually meet in person? They're really not hurting anybody, and they're really probably lonely people, and how many of them often meet each other?
Well, we met each other first before we fell in love or anything. We even used the telephone a lot. But it was a way for me to break the ice. I had friends all across the United States through the service. This can happen on a local bulletin board. It can happen on a national service. I wasn't out looking to do anything but have a good time and talk to some nice people.
Well, yes, ma'am.
I don't feel very warm when I answer my telephone and the computer's on the other end.
I don't either.
You know what? One of the things they found about this, though, is that you would think that you would be kind of cold and technical using this, right, with the language. The opposite is true. There's a term called flaming. When people use electronic mail or this, they exaggerate everything. You'll see explanation points all the way across the screen. Everything is exaggerated. People lose their tempers. The executives will swear that you would never see them swear in a boardroom, but they'll swear on the screen. So everything is hot on this medium. It's not a cold medium.
Hey, can you see this? We already got a wise guy, I tell you. Hi, Phil. I always liked Marlo Thomas better. You didn't have to give it that big a hand. Let me see. Welcome to the Holy Rollers channel. You've got certainly evangelism is the Bible. People who share common faith will communicate with each other. It's a way to perhaps meet someone who has similar interests, religious interests. Lulu's on. Holy cow. Why, oh, why, Bob? Methinks Bob must be going to write a book. Well, for the National Enquirer.
Phil,
yeah.
You need to put this in the context of the culture we're in. And I've described it as America too, and it's a culture where many of us are drawing into condos with high security systems surrounding. You know, more and more things are done in the home. We're more and more isolated. But just when you think that we've created what I've called America too, where everybody stays inside and doesn't touch or anything, this kind of communication comes along. That hot medium I find very fascinating. I think that we're finding new ways to communicate, and it's going to draw us out, as these people found out. They met each other face to face. There's a bulletin board in San Diego where the kids use, and they have parties every month where the kids get together that would never meet each other any other way.
Yeah. Well, the flip side of that, though, is the misuse of these bulletin boards to pass around information about how to break the law, how to invade your privacy, how to make bombs, how to, well, all the KKK and neo-Nazi information that's passed back and forth. And these things, again, are completely anonymous. You don't know who's on the other end. You can leave any kind of message you want. I could say anything about anyone. You could say anything about me. And this information moves at the speed of light. And if you wanted to spread my credit card around the country or the world, you can do it in a flash. and go for it.
I think the lady back here who said it's not the computer, it's how we use it, is exactly right. It's a part of the new American culture. We can't get around it. It can be used for good or for bad.
Yeah. Okay, we have to break here. This is something. We've got, they want to know when this is going to air. We don't know. Say, we don't know. We don't. Oh, you did say, I don't know. But that Phil is certain that they watch the show every day, so that doesn't matter. We are in Chicago. I'm sorry. We are in New York City, and we'll be back in just a moment.
I wish I could kiss you and make it all better.
When your child's achy and feverish, a kiss isn't enough. Discover aspirin-free Children's Panadol, the only line of children's fever reducers that's always been alcohol-free, aspirin-free, sugar-free. And Children's Panadol reduces fever just as effectively as aspirin, just as quickly as aspirin.
It sure helped you feel better fast.
Children's Panadol, aspirin-free, alcohol-free, the way your children's fever reducer should be.
Sugar-free Jell-O gelatin, what are you up to now? We grab an apple and give it zing. We peel an orange and have a fling. We're up to something and it should be understood. Sugar-free Jell-O gelatin, we're up to something good. We turn a carrot into a treat. We're low in calories, we got NutraSweet. We're up to something and that something is good. Look for our recipes and magazines. Sugar-free Jell-O gelatin, we're up to something good.
I'm inviting you to give your family our best soft-pack bathroom tissue with its special embossing for a double layer of softness, plus added strength. Try it, mark, calculate, and say.
Bully automatically cleans the bowl every time you flush.
Don't be bullied by your bowl. Bully your bowl instead.
Bully. It cleans with every flush.
Dad, are all potatoes going in Idaho?
Heck no, son. Just the best ones.
Oh, Dad.
You think about it. Idaho has got rich volcanic soil that no other state has. Or it could be our long, warm days or our cool, crisp nights. Could be our pure air, clear, fresh streams.
When you want the right potato, you know just where to go. So look for the seal that says it's real, genuine Idaho.
Delicious.
You sure are teaching him right.
Great stories to read and all the program information you need in the new issue of TV Guide.
That's entertainment.
You know, I'm beginning to think that computers are our toys as adults, and they can be dangerous. I mean, I wouldn't want my child to be looking at that and getting a lot of sexual ideas that I am not ready to.
But that's happening on the cable channel.
It is, but I don't want it in my house, and I have a right not to have it in my house.
Well, you are still free. Believe it or not, America's not over yet. You are free not to buy one of these.
No, but one of the things I'm noticing is that the good times that they're having, so it's like toys.
Yes.
You know, it's our toys.
There's something very ominous that doesn't really have to do with the privacy issue, and that's the split between America 1 and America 2, the America of poor blacks and Chicanos and people who have no access to this stuff. This stuff is rich kids' toys for the most part. And so you have an America 2 forming in which, you know, you have internet. Well, that's...
My son bought his own computer already 2 years ago, and he did it by saving up his money from babysitting.
Increasingly, it's available for those people, but even when it's available, often studies have shown oftentimes these people have not been prepared by their education to use it. They use it by rote memory. They don't use it by the kind of intuitive ways that middle-class kids use it.
Yeah, it is. It's another vehicle to widen what we already have been told by a national commission is a gap between the two Americas.
That's for sure. There was a study in Silicon Valley, which is one of the capitals of America, too, and of kids who use computers. The kids of the engineers and the computer designers and all that, 40% of those people, their children had computers. 10 miles away, the kids who put, the kids of the parents who put the widgets together, who put the computers together on the assembly line, 1% of those children have computers.
You know, you just said we're free to choose and buy it. We're not, because our children are in the computer age, and we have no choice but to introduce them.
And they make you feel guilty if you don't get one.
But even more, they need it for their education later on. The schools today are all bringing them in. We don't have a choice.
That's the truth. But there is some revision on this thinking. You know, what good is one terminal and 20 kids? You know,
Look at what they can do together. 20 children's minds, you have 20 individual children. And they're all going to pick up something from somebody else, from somewhere else.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious, what happens to the people who don't use computers? Do they get shut out from the world? I mean, it seems as though computers are taking over. I mean, what happens if you don't understand how to use them?
They're the people of America One. They're the people who are not so much being shut out of the world as being left behind. And this is an enormously powerful tool, especially when it's connected to communications. The people of America, too, are going to be talking internationally. There's a computer bulletin board now started out of Japan in which you can make a local call and talk to anybody in the world. Now, what about the people being left behind?
Yeah, but people
don't know how to use these things?
A lot of people are using computers, even though you don't know it. When you go to your ATM, you're using a computer. When the airplanes that you fly on are being flown and directed by computers. Computers are everywhere, and you're getting a lot out of it, even if you're not sitting behind a computer. And the computers, as time goes on, computers become so much more sophisticated that you won't have to know how to pound on the keys to make the computer work for you.
Yes, ma'am.
But aren't the people who are using these computers spending too much time on them and closing other doors, other areas that they should...
Perhaps they are, but we talk about what's going to happen in the 80s as we move from an industrial society to a service society, and we talk about computers and high technology being the jobs of the future. These kids, the kids who ask your parents to buy them computers, are the ones who are going to be ready for those jobs.
And you know what? There's a company in Denver that exports data processing jobs via satellite to low-wage women in Barbados who sit in front of computers. It turns out it's much easier to move a high-tech America 2 job than it is to move a steel mill. So by spending so much time behind that computer, even though it's a very powerful tool, you may be neglecting large areas of your education, which may, in the long run, prove much more important.
And bye, Phil, wherever you are. I'm glad at least somebody out there said goodbye to me. Hugs, Mom. Bye. Bye. Goodbye, Chicken Lips. I don't know who that is. Well, there are formal hugs, you know. Oh, I see. Click, click. One person said, I got to go sell some apartments. I'll be right. Goodbye. So this is the way we're going to communicate, apparently.
Have you seen the ads for computer camps? The kid is sitting inside the house with the window behind him, and out there they're sailing and walking in the woods and all that, but he's in there in front of that terminal. There's real problems that parents have to start wondering about with their kids.
And most computer operators are male. So sexism is also a potential feature of the computer age, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Some orange juice companies sell everywhere and eat huge quantities of oranges. But Hood decided to sell orange juice in only a few select areas, so we can be very picky. We even look under the hood. If an orange isn't the sweetest, the juiciest, it's not good enough for Hood. So if you're choosy about orange juice, look under the hood and see if you've won $10,000 or one of over 10,000 prizes in the Hood Orange Juice Instant Winner Game.
Things aren't always what they seem to be. This store, for example, sells Purdue whole chickens. They also sell chicken parts. You might assume that these chicken parts are also Purdue. Well, you could be very wrong. These parts don't say Purdue's prime parts, and they don't meet Purdue quality standards. Just because something seems like Purdue
doesn't mean it is.
Through the years, people have been trying to find things to beat SOS soap pads. But SOS is a good idea that's still the best idea. After all, nothing cleans better or shines brighter. And for only pennies a pad, SOS doesn't cost you a small fortune. SOS. Our competition keeps proving what a great buy we really are.
Hey, Federica, you don't like thunderstorms, eh? Angelo make you forget all about that storm.
For my special friend,
No, amore. One beautiful meal.
real chicken hearts and livers like Angelo makes you.
That's amore.
Give your cat a little love every day. Amore.
The outside not so bad, eh? When your inside feels good.
You've got to, if you can't play the game if you don't know the language. David, let's give him an idea. You know what a hacker is? Computer users who have no formal training, who spend a lot of time figuring out systems. You know what?
They figure out systems they're not supposed to be figuring out.
Yeah. You know what a syscrasher is? Users who get into other computer systems and break them down. That's fun. Now, what is that audio coming from?
It's the modem, as it's dialing the service.
Oh, I see. Robert Wiggins has joined us. I can't wait to... he's also a computer user. Can't wait to see our phone bill here. You probably don't know what pirates and worms are, do you? They are users who use bulletin boards to trade info about illegal computer activities. Freakers with a PH, users who post stolen Sprint numbers. Can you imagine?
Well, freakers are people who exchange information about how to steal any kind of phone service. That's why they spell freak PH, as in phone.
Teletrials is self-evident. Trials by computers. Dial your match is a sex bulletin board. Okay? Well, I have, in our audience, we've asked some folks who are very much familiar with this. They want you to know they don't do anything illegal, but they enjoy their computers. What is it you wanted to say?
As a matter of fact, I run a free computer bulletin board in New York that people can call in. We've had over 4,000 callers in the last several months.
And what's the practical function? I mean, what's in it for me to...
Exchanging information. It's a board that's sponsored by a computer users group, and people can ask questions and get answers, and if they want to, make days to meet for lunch. I've met several people who are here.
So it could be a dating service. Is that what it's distilled into? Or?
No, that's a very, very tiny part if any happens on the board. Right. It's primarily an exchange of information about how to use computers.
If you're doing a biography on some obscure historic figure, you might put that on there in the manner of the New York Times book review ad or something?
Yeah, absolutely. A computer bulletin board is nothing more than a supermarket bulletin board brought up into the electronic age.
Did you make any money for this?
No. As a matter of fact, it cost me.
Yeah. How do you keep illegal information off your bulletin board?
I have 3 assistants who check on the board every day, and I'm very proud of having a very clean board. Anything that is in the least bit illegal or not nice even is immediately taken off, and I've had no problems. No.
Do you have to approve it before it goes on the board?
No.
So I can write a profanity on there, and you won't know it until you get home that night?
Technically, unless one of the other people who's checking the board checks it and takes it off. It's a self-policing community, and it's generally very good.
So any one of those accessing can also erase?
Within reason, yes.
Well, then that means that whoever accesses could also destroy the whole board.
Not the whole board. You can only take out individual messages. And it's possible to lock certain messages, in which case only the system operator can delete it.
Right. Now, as you know, is anybody buying a CB anymore? Remember the CB craze? Everybody had a CB. They're useless. You ever turn on a CB in a crowded... first of all, they're filled with profanities. The airs... Huh? Now, how would you know that?
No, because I go to Atlantic City sometimes, and the driver has a CB, and I'm usually behind him.
What do you hear?
Terrible things.
But... You know, it's really, you can get electronic graffiti. This is another opportunity to display your idiocy. So how do you police that? And who's going to take that off? And who's going to decide? And if somebody's liable, yeah.
Yes, I'd just like to say they have this law. You can't go into a store and buy pornographic books, unless you're 18 or under.
Right.
What about these computers? Shouldn't this be against the law in any way? You got these 10, 11-year-old kids.
How would you enforce the law? The only way to enforce that law is for the people who are the guardians of underage people.
You got people going and striking in front of 7-Eleven stores, striking the stores because of the pornographic books. You think people could think of something for the computers.
Who are you going to strike?
Yeah.
Just a word about business. I run about a half a dozen ventures, and the venture teams all have computers at home, Today, I'm at home working.
You don't even have to leave the house then to make a living.
You know, Phil, you know what? One of the things they found out about business decisions made via electronic bulletin board, they're exaggerated. They often make the wrong decisions, or the right decisions, but they're very much exaggerated. They go off the deep end often with these decisions.
The gentleman keeps making reference to America 1 and America 2. I think there's room for both. I think I'd still like to see someone sitting down writing poetry, or some of the children still going out sailing, while the others who are interested still continue to use the computer.
One of the things that I've talked a lot about in the book is that America 2 doesn't have to end up where it looks like it's going. Look, how many of your cities have spent money on parks for children lately? How many alternatives are there in America 2 for kids other than this? This is the new recreation. This is the new outdoors. And we've got to start looking at those things if we really want a balanced society. If we don't, we'll let it keep going this way.
But at the same time, you can write poetry on computers. I'm sure you wrote your book on a computer.
Yeah, but I ended up handwriting the last draft because I couldn't do it anymore.
It makes it a lot easier to write.
I got an eye twitch.
Are we saying that even though there are a lot of people doing illegal things, there's nobody to police it, so it doesn't matter?
It's virtually impossible to police it because people hide behind a computer, they dial through an untraceable number, they give themselves an alias. I called myself Montana Wild Hack when I was on the computer bulletin boards. And there's really no way to catch these people.
Now, the law is just obviously beginning to grow and be shaped.
The law is beginning to emerge. The federal government passed a law last year making it illegal to trespass in someone else's computer, but it applies only to government computers. The section on private computers was deleted as it went through Congress.
You know, there are all kinds of nightmares. Think about it. Can they access an aviation control center?
Yes.
Can they send your plane to the wrong city?
Last summer...
Can they send your plane to the wrong runway?
Last summer, they were into the computer that was running and keeping track of the times for the Olympics in Los Angeles. And the traffic I was reading indicated they were pretty close to figuring out how to change things in that computer. Like people change their grades. You want a gold medal? Go for it.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
You know, I used to feel tired and listless all the time. My wife left me, my friends left me, my dog left me. And then I started eating prunes again. Just a few to start with, every day, a couple in the morning or at lunch or for a snack. And then they were so delicious, I started cooking with them again, too. Before I knew it, I felt better about myself. I took up jogging. With prunes back in my life, I found new friends, new furniture, and a cat. My wife came back, and soon she was eating prunes, too. Friends flocked to our place for parties and dinners and brought their own prunes along. I became vibrant and exciting and fun guy to talk to. My life's never been the same since. And you know, it's all because of prunes.
Nothing burns me like running all over a discount store hunting for something. Hello out there. No help in sight. But today I'm at there looking for something when I spot this customer service phone. I pick it up, and this really nice person tells me to look one aisle over. Save me running all over the store. And if I'm going to be running around, I'd rather be running around up here.
We'd like to make your
When I brought him home, he was this big. Honest. The can of Calcan the breeder gave me to start with was even bigger than he was.
And now look at this woolly monster. As he flourished, he's the happiest, healthiest dog I have ever had. And a big part of the credit goes to Calcan. It's got all that high-quality meat, plus all the vitamins and minerals Bo needs. And boy, does he love his Calcan.
Calcan, 100% complete nutrition for all stages of your dog's life. No wonder top breeders recommend it.
It's Bosley's Law. She who buys bargain trash bags can be penny wise, but trash foolish.
Oh, I almost made it. So close.
Close doesn't count in trash bags, Judy. Why take chances? Flat trash bags are made with 3 plies of Stress Flex, that fantastically elastic plastic that lets the bag stretch without breaking.
That's more like it.
Stress Flex in Glad trash and large kitchen garbage bags. Why take chances? Get Glad.
Horace McBee
And Georgia Dupree.
worked at their desks every day.
But with no exercise. Their pressures did rise.
And their weights went the very same way.
Archibald Stein.
Heard both from the line.
Yeah.
The work was so terribly hard that each of those twists gave him powerful wrists.
Yeah, but everywhere else he was lard.
Then one day the boss awoke to the loss of fitness, good health, and esprit.
And so he installed fitness programs for all, and a far better workplace had he had.
In a fitness program where you work, write Department E, Washington, D.C. 20001.
Wonderful.
Here we are with this. You've accessed what? Single parenting.
Right. It's a conference on a system called Participate, which is a service you can get to through the source.
The source, capital S. It's just it's the name of a
It's
commercial.
An information utility is what they call it.
Okay. Now, 19 people responded to this?
Yes.
So there are 19 computer operators out there who have interest, obviously personal interest in single parenting.
Right.
Kick it in there. Let's see what. And this is just the introduction, right? Parenting is a task that is wonderfully enriching and frightening in its impact at the same time. Single parent is even more of each, so on and so forth. Now, we can help each other get through this. Now, what are you doing? Do we want to talk to this?
Yeah, I'm reading the first 19 messages. I can always stop.
Oh, I see. You mean to tell me you push a button and all those 19 who responded will be in there?
Right, I can read them
So
all.
that if I have an interest in that issue, I scan my screen and someone has probably got the same kind of problem I do. My child doesn't like the guy I'm dating or the woman I'm dating.
Exactly.
I get it. Nothing's wrong with it. We're not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just another, it's another billboard, another opportunity.
You know, the point really isn't the law. The law has to be changed, obviously, but the point isn't that. The point is, what kind of alternatives do we provide for kids? This is not a negative technology. It's neutral. But kids have to have an alternative. We have to start looking at our cities and our countryside and our small towns, figure out how to make them more humane for children.
Richard Louve's book is titled America 2, the book that captures Americans in the act of creating the future. So be it. That's probably the truth. How will this alter our behavior? What impact will it have on the maturation of our children? You'll stand, sir? You'll stand? Who won it? You want in this? All right.
No, I'm more interested in the Dunns.
I am too, yeah. And they're still married, even though the show's almost over.
There are so many singles in New York alone, men and women, who would like to get together. They have computer dating, bars and whatnot. You used an avenue which is a little different than what we hear about usually, and I would like to hear more about it. When did?
Yeah. Where did you? We don't have a lot of time. How long did you communicate with the computer before you? Yeah.
About 6 months before we actually met.
And then did he what?
We got.
Are you Queens?
I was.
You were in Queens and you're in Chicago. Yeah.
We got together a few times back and forth. She was throwing a party. I went to it. And the rest was just plain old love. I mean, it happened that way.
All right. And where did you meet? Where was the first time that you met?
Chicago.
He came to see you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Still old-fashioned.
Did you take him to see the Cubs or the Sox?
Actually, I took him to see the zoo.
Yes, ma'am. You'll stand here. Computer technology. Yes.
You're talking about kids in America, too. Are you saying that if I don't want to have anything to do with computers, then I'm not going to have any alternative in 20 years?
No, not at all. In fact, a lot of women who have been very hesitant about computers have been secretaries. There's a large movement of women to get word processor computers in their own home and become entrepreneurs and help other women figure this out and figure out how to use computers.
And the technology is heading toward making it much easier for people who know nothing about computers to use them.
That's right.
What?
I don't want to.
I think that's fine. I think that we need poets. We need people who don't sit in front of a screen all day.
There's such a pressure in schools to take computer courses, and I don't want to sit around lunchtime talking about floppy disks or anything. It's kind of boring.
You might meet a nice guy.
I feel.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
I'd like to know the recourse that he had in this trial by computer. Did you flip the switch? What did you do?
No, as a matter of fact,
you do?
I made a deal with a friend of mine who's a computer hacker who crashed the system and destroyed the whole, he essentially blew up the courthouse.
In an electronic sense.
Don't you think once this fad status wears off, it will turn into computer users and non-users, like there are letter writers and phone speakers?
No, not at all, because there's a real difference between this and CB radio. You can use this for work. This is useful.
Children are going to learn this. They're going to grow up with it, and they'll just see it as something you pick up like a telephone. People abuse the telephone like they do now, and they'll abuse a computer, but it won't be anything that will drastically change us, except in the way that the telephone did. You can communicate with more people.
Well, I think you're right, I think you're right, and that it's moving more toward computer activism, toward using it as a tool to change society.
I think a kid will learn more in front of a computer than he will in front of a television set.
And we'll be back in a moment.
There's something popping up at breakfast these days that just might be the latest craze. A skinny little muffin that's easy to make. Pop, there goes another toasted cake. What a great taste, oh, there's so much fun. They're warm and tasty on the run. Thomas says make some so the taste is great. Pop, there goes another toasted cake. In corn, raisin, bran, or blueberry, the muffins echo pop. Tasty Thomas's toasted cakes.
I got this from my 67 sedan, and flack from Doris. I gotta clean up. Doris says detergents and softeners start out cleaning, but let dirt in the wash water get back on me. So she uses New Yes detergent, because New Yes with active dirt repellers works even harder to keep wash water dirt from washing back in. So I come out really clean and soft, till I rotate the tires.
New Yes with active dirt repellers keeps wash water dirt off clothes, leaving them clean and soft.
Now there's a new kind of toilet tissue. New Quilted Northern. It's quilted so you can see how soft it is. But mostly, you can feel it. New Quilted Northern. Quilted for a softness you can see.
The results are in. Cats have made Tidy Cat 3 America's #1 cat box filler. Miami cats love Tidy Cat 3. Nashville cats prefer Tidy Cat 3. Dallas cats prefer Tidy Cat 3 because it controls odors 3 ways. It absorbs, deodorizes, and leaves a clean, fresh scent. That's why no brand sells better than Tidy Cat 3 from Lowe's, America's #1 cat box filler.
Yes, how's what?
How does that increase your telephone bill?
Yeah, you better...
because a lot of the places you call are long-distance calls, and it takes an awfully long time to have a conversation on a computer.
Although that's changing, because you can make a local call and get into an international network now.
I don't like computers. You can have them.
They laughed at Robert Fulton. They laughed at the Wright brothers. They laughed at Henry Ford. You can't stand in the way of progress.
They are the most boringest things. They are just boring. I
still think my children would rather play outside than be in the house.
Good for you.
My 10- and 6-year-olds still play outside, but know how to use the computer.
Here's a man who's got children who do both, and it's possible. Let me get somebody who hasn't had a shot. Yes, ma'am.
Computers are fun to use. There's nothing wrong with them. They're very easy to use.
Something to consider, though, is if information is a currency, who's minding the bank?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And who decide? And what will the censorship rules be? And who will decide? And if we're using electronic communication, then it follows that anybody can cut in. It's like a party line. And who's cutting in? And with what authority? Yes.
There's still computers, but you still need people to run them.
Yes, you do.
There's so much fear about computers, but I think a lot of it is because people aren't aware and don't have the knowledge. The kids aren't afraid of them, the young kids.
They sure are. Yes, ma'am.
I saw a 3-year-old this past weekend teaching herself how to read. It was the most fantastic thing. I sat back and I said, I don't have any kids yet, but when I do, they're getting a computer.
This can't be this can't be a cheap hobby. Are these people that wealthy that they can afford the bill?
Is it a lot of bucks? No. It depends, I suppose.
You can limit the amount of time your children spend on it, just like you do with television.
Yeah. You can limit what some of us do with television. Yeah. Sir.
If you can put in all these people, why haven't they come up with a way of locking out?
They're working on it.
The best way they have now is code.
Yes.
The problem is that the code can be stolen, sir.
Exactly.
It's great that they say they're writing these laws to police them, but how can you really police someone? You can't get a physical description of the person.
They're completely anonymous, and they just appear words on a screen. That's right.
Computers are an extremely useful tool if used correctly, I think.
We have to, all of us, get informed about the potential for abuse in these.
We
Sir,
mainly have to start asking questions about our children and how they're
Can we
using
get access to the Soviet Union? I mean,
Who knows you better than Kleenex, the future Mrs. King?
Huh?
Who else knows your home's new colors?
Everybody.
Then why doesn't everybody have updated tissue boxes to match today's new softer colors? A softer blue, a quieter yellow, even a pretty new peach. Kleenex now has a color for any decorating taste, except Sylvia's.
Who knows you better than Kleenex?
New, softer colors for your home.
Who knows your colors like we do?
Morning. Name's John Gregson, and here's where we nourish our New Zealand spring lamb. Quite likely the most delicately flavoured lamb on God's green earth. We feed them fresh meadow grass and pure mother's milk. Chances are you won't find more naturally delicious lamb anywhere else in the world. See for yourself. Look in the frozen meat case of your market right now for our tender New Zealand spring lamb. Milk-fed, grass-finished.
Mom, look, that's Mr. Markel using someone else's paper towel.
No, this is the new Scenic America package of my approved Marcal paper towels. I'm proving how we've improved it. Marcal now has a special vacuum weave that absorbs and channels the spill through the sheet, vacuuming it up. Other popular brands of towels over the same amount of liquid don't. New improved Marcal Scenic America paper towels work even harder, giving you even more reason to Marcalculate and save.
Mr. Markel, would you do that again?
Carnation presents The Adventures of Mighty Dog. Dogs everywhere have a beef. They're fed up with byproducts and fillers. Have no fear. Mighty Dog is here. Guardian of good taste, he brings the pure beef taste of Mighty Dog, the only leading brand that's beef, pure beef, and no animal byproducts. For the great taste mere mortal much love. So, for pure beef taste, you can always call on Mighty Dog. Mighty Dog beef for dogs from Carnation.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tom Cottle. Coming up, Good Day remembers the 1950s. We'll have a live interview from the new oldies station opening up in downtown Boston, WMEX, and we'll take a nostalgic look at 50s fashions and fads. Also, actor Ed Asner joins us via satellite. You know him as Lou Grant. He's got a new name and a new series called Off the Rack, and we'll hear about it. And the macho mystique. What is it that appeals to us so in the media? We'll explore it all. Good Day at 10.
The book is titled America 2. This is an important contribution to the effort to understand how computer technology will influence our culture and the downside of it as well.
I've had computers before and I did enjoy it, but I feel like I'm threatened that I have to know how to use them for the future.
It just seems to me that it's smart to at least know.
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
When it comes to thinking of new ways to crash test cars, no one goes farther than Volvo. Volvo, a car you can believe in.
You get a full gallon of quality plus economy every time you paint when you use True Test paints and accessories, sold exclusively by participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
The Drake, a landmark hotel in the heart of Manhattan. For reservations outside of New York State, call 800-DRAKE-NY. In New York State, call 212-421-0900.
I think we have to give them credit for all that they've done in the medical profession, and